What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of The 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. With Far Cry 6 being officially announced, guys, I'm really excited about this title, and it's quickly becoming one of my most anticipated games of next year. And so with that, guys, I wanted to go through some of, the questions and answers that we got from the narrative director on the tropical setting, as well as creating a new villain within the Far Cry universe, guys. This is coming to us from Ubisoft and was written by Chris Waters, and this is all about, guys, the first urban environment that we've ever had really within Far Cry as a franchise. And I'm really excited to see this take on it and see, is this an origin story, which many people are talking about this being an origin story of Voss in the form of Diego as plays as him as a young boy, of course, and then of course he turns into Voss in the end, is a theory that is out there right now, guys. But I think it's important that we give some, kind of some backstory here to what is Far Cry 6 and kind of break down some of the things that the narrative director gives us here. So with that, guys, Far Cry 6 is coming to spark the fires of revolution on February 18, 2021, as players fight to liberate their homeland, the tropical island of Yara. Now, here's what's awesome, guys. This game's coming out February 18, 2021, so it's actually a lot closer than a lot of us originally anticipated it would be. However, you got to take that date with a pinch of salt just because of the pandemic going on, guys. It very well may get pushed back at some point. Hopefully they stick to that date, though. The people are suffering under the brutal rule of President Anson Castillo, portrayed by Emmy Award nominee Giancarlo Esposito, who is grooming his son Diego to succeed him. To learn more about the newest Far Cry villain and the role you'll play in taking him down, we spoke with narrative director Navid Kavari. And with that, guys, Giancarlo Esposito, I was very skeptical about this take on him being the next villain, even though I love his work. I think he does a great job in, Better Call Saul in particular, but he really does a really good job when we're talking about just his role as far as from Breaking Bad to Better Call Saul to now being in a video game. I'm excited about it, to say the least. So the first question was, let's start talking about Yara. How do you decide, is this for the setting for Far Cry 6? I think the first thing is that it was clear that a lot of our fans were excited to go back to a tropical setting. Also, when you start on a Far Cry, this is my fourth Far Cry now, you always want to look at somewhere players have never been before in the series. And finally, we wanted to tell a story about revolution, and when you tell a story about revolution, you're talking about guerrilla warfare. So with that, guys, I think that it's interesting that, us as fans, I think many of us were kind of excited to go back to some sort of, tropical setting after, of course, Far Cry 5. Which, by the way, guys, Far Cry 5, in my personal opinion, was absolutely incredible. I thought overall, I love the setting of it. And I'm kind of excited, though, to go back to the tropical setting because I think that's what people really enjoy about Far Cry as a whole, is that tropical feel. It just feels more and more like Far Cry. Maybe adding some of these things that worked from Far Cry 5 to Far Cry 6 might be something that we'll have to kind of, look at as well. So then we wanted to contrast that with a new sort of leader who's been elected with this promise to rebuild paradise, to take the island back to being rich like it was 50 years ago. And with Anson, really what he's saying is, I'm going to build paradise, but paradise isn't for everyone. For him, it's his idea that paradise comes at a cost, and he will enslave those who are against him to work as forced labor to get what he wants. So really, guys, Anson Castillo seems like one of these villains unlike any that we've seen before in the Far Cry series. Reminds me a little bit of Pagan Min, but still seems definitely like he's got his own kind of style at the same time. I thought from the trailer itself, some, very eerie and very psychological things that I feel that we might get with this game after just seeing that short, of course, trailer. Speaking of that capital city, this is the first time the Far Cry franchise has really included a large urban environment. What does that space bring to the game, and what opportunities does it create? It's been an amazing experience just to even be part of developing that. Our team has done such an amazing job. It's kind of an honor to be the first Far Cry that has a capital city. It starts with the idea of building a country right. You can't have an island, this country with without having a capital city. And I think there's a lot of love and care that they put into not only just building the city, but the demographics around that. This is the seat of Anton's power. What's interesting about this, guys, is that we've got a city, but it's also going to be tropical. So what I'm actually thinking to myself is that Far Cry 6 might be one of the biggest Far Cries to date. It may actually, the map itself may be relatively large. If they're trying to really make this capital city something really special and very immersive, something you can, obviously traverse in a number of ways, it sounds like, Yara is also going to have a number of, tropical areas and things of that nature that really is something that is going to give us a lot to explore. That open world feel may just be even more expanded upon, which would be awesome. You mentioned Anton's supporters, and I realized I was thinking about the people in Far Cry 6 as either the president and his military or the player's allies and revolutionaries. What is your approach to showing other facets of Yaran society? To tell a modern, complex story, our players aren't looking for such a simple black and white world, right? When you're looking at something as complex as an island that's been essentially cut off from the rest of the world for 50 years, but in an economic downturn, electing this leader on the back of this idea of building a new paradise, the idea with Anton is he definitely lulled people into believing this was the only answer for them, that he was the one that was going to solve all of their problems. And first, so it became super interesting on the character side to explore the idea of, there definitely were some people that voted for him, that believed in him, that are now regretting that choice, and there are those that still support him. So, very interesting setting, guys, to say the least. Learning more and more as we go here about what this story is all going to really entail. This could be, like I said, one of the big questions for me, guys, is this a follow-up to Far Cry 5, or is this going to be that origin story that a lot of people are talking about to Far Cry 3? How does Anton go from being elected by the people to ruling with an iron fist? I think that was super fascinating for us. In terms of Anton, this is someone who, as a teenager, watched his own father, who was in power, be executed over 50 years ago, and that really shaped his worldview and his belief that this island was stolen from him, stolen from his family. The idea with Anton, what that was powerful and interesting to me was, how do you take someone who is charismatic, intelligent, who would otherwise be doing amazing good things, and put them in a situation where their worldview gets distorted? And that's what's really interesting about this character, guys. It seems to me that Anton had elements of him that was good, but it was all distorted in one way, shape, or form as people tried to take what was his family's and such from him, and now he's become this vicious leader, but the kind of leader that seems that on the outside seems like a really, a decent person, a decent human being, but then on the inside very corrupt and things of that nature. But in addition to his sense of paternal dominion over the people of Yara, Anton is also a father himself. How does his relationship with his son Diego help create the character of Anton Castillo? When you start on a Far Cry, you're talking about a pedigree and a history that has been built on amazing villains, dynamic villains. So that's a whole layer pressure as well. But really, the turning point for us, when we felt we were onto something, was when we thought of this idea of Anton as a dictator. He's in charge of this country. He believes he's doing the right thing by enslaving his population. But you take someone like that, and then you couple that with having a teenage son. Diego is 13 years old, and I think for us, that's something that Far Cry has really never had. It allows for a complex dynamic. And I agree, because this idea that Anton is going to basically give his empire to Diego, who's a 13-year-old, and basically getting him to accept that this is the way that things are. People are enslaved, and this is our, country. We're the ones in power here. And that is something that is very scary, but at the same time, that actually does create a very complex dynamic, to say the least. And then, and on top of that, I think that's something that Giancarlo Esposito really keyed in on when we met and talked about the character. He wanted to get into what makes Anton tick, what makes a dictator become who they are. And he really keyed in on this idea of, wait, this is a father, this is someone who genuinely loves his son, communicating that was almost like a way in for him to understand and relate to Anton. The trailer is more than a little harrowing because it shows Diego, this young teenager, in such an intense situation. How did you find the right line to walk there? We worked with a company called Unit, who had the initial concept, And when I was writing the script for it, I thought back to how my own dad spoke to me growing up. And then you try to think of, well, if you are a dictator who believes his country is falling apart at the seams, what is the fastest way I can communicate to my son the lengths to which he's going to have to go? What was really exciting as well was that it was the first script I actually finished for Anton, and it was the first thing we shot with Giancarlo. So look, guys, they have, obviously, with Far Cry, they have some elements, guys, and we even know this just from Far Cry 5, some elements that are controversial. Obviously, the ending being very open-ended, so to speak, at the end of Far Cry 5, regardless of which way you decide to end the game. And I think that now moving into Far Cry 6, we're up for more of the same, in my opinion, when it comes to, from a story perspective, being able to potentially have some pretty controversial things within this game. And we can see that just from the surface, watching just the trailer as a whole. But when you cast Giancarlo Esposito, you had already created the character of Anton Castillo, but how did working with Esposito influence the further development of Castillo? When we initially cast Giancarlo, we were lucky enough to fly down to New York to sit with him, meet with him, and we ended up talking about Anton for about 4 hours straight. He came in dressed to the nines. He had the fedora, the suit, the perfect Italian boots, and I'm like, I shouldn't have worn a hoodie. But he came in and he'd already done extensive notes on the character. He took material, he'd gone through the script, and he had all sorts of questions to ask about why Anton was doing the things he was doing. What he really pushed and challenged us on was, how do we bring empathy to Anton? There has to be a reason in Anton's eyes to justify doing what he's doing. So from that conversation, I scurried back to Toronto and started whipping up new scenes. And so, honestly, guys, I mean, it just feels to me that Giancarlo Esposito is the perfect fit here for this character, Anton Castillo. I think it's going to be great. Did you have to do any coaching to get him into that Far Cry villain mindset? He got that right away. He understood Far Cry and what it means to have a powerful Far Cry antagonist immediately. Even when we were meeting in New York, when he started reading the lines and giving the speech that you see in the trailer, he just looked at me with this Anton Castillo look, and I was like, oh my God, you are Anton, and I am scared for my life right now. And that's the thing. I think, guys, at first I was concerned about the casting of Esposito, but now looking at it, I am incredibly excited to see him and his take on this character. Switching gears to another character that you've introduced in Far Cry 6 that is sure to make an impression, please tell me about Chorizo, the wiener dog sidekick. You know, I'll tell you about Chorizo. When the concept for Chorizo was sent around, literally the next day, everyone's wallpaper was Chorizo. I was walking down the hallway, and we have an open floor concept in the office, and it was Chorizo, 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 Chorizo. Honestly, I can't wait for people to get to play with Chorizo. The tease for him is that he literally kills with kindness. That's all I'm going to say. I think he really kind of embodies Far Cry, you know, the fun and the joy and the little bit of terror that you get in a Far Cry game. And I'm excited about this character too. This dog sidekick, I think, looks awesome. Really just a cute looking dog, but obviously probably going to be vicious throughout the course of the game. We've also gotten a glimpse of who we'll be playing as in Far Cry 6, a freedom fighter named Danny Rojas. What was your approach to creating that character? We knew that if we're going to tell the revolution story, if we're going to tell a story about someone in a guerrilla movement, you need to have that personal connection with them. You need someone who's rooted in the world, who has a background. So we wanted proper performance capture. We wanted to have a voice. You can play as either a man or a woman, so we got Sean Ray as the male and Nisa Gundas as the female to help us create this character that is your gateway into the revolution. And I think that's great, guys. I'm excited about that. Having a voice, it's just felt like throughout all the Far Cry games, you don't have a voice as a character. This is another way that they're transcending Far Cry in a number of ways. How does it feel to have finally announced your game to the world? He says it's surreal. It's absolutely surreal. and I'm going to try not to get emotional. It's been about 4.5 years from when I started on this project. I was working on Far Cry 5 at the same time, and we started as this group of 10 people in a closet somewhere in Ubisoft Toronto. From there, watching it grow to 900 people around the world in Berlin, Shanghai, Montreal, and learning from Montreal's experience on previous Far Cry games, it's surreal, and I think what's been really beautiful is watching everyone come together. It's easy for me to say that I'm the narrative director and have a vision of the story, but what's been amazing to watch is the team embrace that and also make it their own as well. I'm a really big believer in creation of art as an iterative process, and I think that what's exciting for me is knowing that everyone has sort of had their stamp on this game. And I gotta say, guys, I'm incredibly excited, to say the least, about Far Cry 6 quickly becoming one of my most anticipated games of 2021, early Q1 2021. And with that, the images that, guys, that we've gotten seems like this is definitely after the events of Far Cry 5, but then of course maybe it isn't. But just because it looks like you're kind of putting pieces together, is this kind of going into this like looter shooter type of ordeal? Is this who knows, guys? I mean, there's so many different directions that they could be going in, but from what we've seen so far of the images and such, it looks incredible from multiple standpoints. I'm excited about it, guys. I love the red smoke and that kind of environment that they've created. I love the tropical feel. I love that it looks like you're going to be able to ride on a horse and such. We're going to have to wait till we get official gameplay, which I'm sure we're going to be getting later on this year, guys. But with that, let me know what you guys think. As far as this being the first urban environment in a Far Cry game, what do you guys think about it? The first capital city within a Far Cry game. The first of many, like the first of what seems to be, having your character as having a voice and such. There's so much here that makes me excited about this continuation of the Far Cry franchise. But with that, guys, let me know in the comment section down below. What are you most excited about with Far Cry 6? Let me know. And for more Far Cry 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. The more I hear about Watch Dogs Legion, the more I'm getting excited, guys. From a number of different perspectives here, it sounds like the delay of Watch Dogs Legion was not wasted as far as from, of course, Ubisoft, the team over there working on Watch Dogs Legion. Giving them time actually helped innovation flourish, as it was stated in an interview with some of the developers. And Watch Dogs Legion, guys, looks, from what we've heard so far from a number of different content creators, some streamers that got hands-on experience playing the game early. Many people saying that this game could be really special, and I'm excited about that, guys. I want to talk about some of the things that are new, some of the things that are different within Watch Dogs Legion. And so with that, guys, in a article written by Mikel Raperez of course, Ubisoft, Clint Hawking, on how delaying the game let innovation flourish as a whole. So Watch Dogs Legion, guys, with the new release date that is October 29th, and Ubisoft Forward has given us our best look at the game yet since its initial reveal at E3 2019, letting you recruit anyone and hack your way to freedom through a fully networked and automated near-future London. The game has undergone a lot of changes in the past year, many of them made possible by a 7-month delay from its original March 2020 release window. And so with that, guys, the creative director, Clint Hawking, gives us kind of the things that are the new, the things that are different with and the changing role of permadeath. Now, with that, guys, I think that the delay here that happened definitely gave the developers more time to kind of work on the game, more time to really get things how they want it. And what I've heard, guys, I haven't had hands-on experience with the game as of yet, but this idea of letting you recruit anyone and hack your way to freedom is... The hacking aspect apparently is absolutely incredible. For what I've seen of it, it looks absolutely awesome. But with that, guys, Watch Dogs Legion was one of several Ubisoft games that had its release date pushed back in late 2019. Was your team able to benefit from the additional time or do something with the game that you wouldn't have been able to do otherwise? There's a huge benefit, actually, because there was so much innovation in the game, so many different experiments, so many different iterations on play versus play as anyone. After the game was delayed, we were actually able to look back at some of the things we wanted to do that we weren't able to do. A few of those things were, first of all, a big improvement on play as anyone, which meant diversifying the kinds of properties that you would find on people in the world, but also creating richer and more complex characters in the world. so that you really have a much stronger feeling of what you see is what you get. And then similarly, again, for the construction worker, we were able to give him a nail gun because you see them using nail guns at construction sites. It was like, well, we should turn that into a weapon. And there are cargo drones that fly in the world, and we were able to create the ability to summon and take control of cargo drones as a property that characters could have. And see, that's what's really awesome, is that they almost have taken each individual character and kind of made them their own, so that you can play as anyone, guys, recruiting anyone. This concept actually could backfire, but at the same time, since they've had all this extra time, I think it was definitely not wasted, guys. We also spent a bunch of effort building what we call the Burrow Uprising system. So now as you play the game, there are missions where you can go to places in each borough, and once you've completed all of the challenges to do propaganda or to sabotage enemy equipment or to rescue people who've been captured or held hostage, once you complete all the pieces, then you get a custom mission with a big custom gameplay challenge to inspire the rest of the people to fully rise up and take the borough back. It's pretty awesome. Were there any features that were shown earlier that you decided didn't work? Was anything taken out? After the delay, there was a bunch of iteration, and that meant that some things got removed, some things got changed, and some things evolved. A good example is permadeath. The entire game was a permadeath mode where if your operatives were killed, they were killed. There were some difficult design problems we were going to have to solve with that. And the way we solved it with the extra time was to make permadeath its own mode. And so that's going to be really interesting, guys. There were also characters who have a trait where they might die suddenly. We kept those in the game, and actually, even in the non-permadeath version of the game, there are some characters who are doomed or who could die suddenly or randomly, or would be more likely to be killed from their injuries. But there's a very small number of them, and they're clearly advertised on their character profiles before you recruit them, and it's impossible to have a team wipe scenario because of the way we've re-engineered the game system. And so that's really cool, guys. I really love this concept of being able to hack anything, recruit anyone. It's a really interesting concept that I think is actually going to really evolve the Watch Dogs franchise as a whole. Do you have a favorite character archetype to see beating the stuffing out of Albion guards? You know, there's so many characters that I like. I actually found a roadie the other day, which is not like a super incredible character, but it was a roadie, and this was one that came with a guitar as well as quiet footsteps and a silent pistol. And I was like, okay, I get it. He's playing with some pretty rough and tumble bands, but he also needs to be quiet. So I thought that was really funny. It's not like some big superstar spy with a car that turns invisible, which is awesome, but it's just a roadie. I just love the idea of like just all these different characters. You get to learn about all these different characters. Sure, guys, part of the questions and concerns people have had about this game was this idea like you can't really connect with any one individual character, like you can't latch onto one. But the idea though here, guys, is that being a part of DedSec is like understanding as a group, the team is like bigger than the sum of its parts. And so I think that's the idea, is that they want the story to be around DedSec, not necessarily around each individual character. They want you to get to know the character somewhat, but they want you more so to actually just try out all these different types and different characters out there in the world, so that you're all working towards a very common goal here. How do you approach balance with so many possible character combinations? Do you prevent characters from having skills or items that might not be appropriate to their profession, for example? Part of the answer is we build all of the properties for characters. We don't build characters. We build properties, and then we allocate properties to characters in ways that make sense. And then there's a generative element to it as well. So it's our responsibility to make sure that individual properties are as well balanced as they can be. And then our answer to that is really more along the lines of, we think it's fun to be able to do interesting and new and creative things and to play in different ways, and that is more important to us. That an outlying character might be more powerful than this other, much weaker character, we don't think that breaks the game. And I agree, it's a different concept, guys. Look, at the end of the day, whether you compare this to other games out there or compare it to other narratives that have been brought out, the fact of the matter is that this is different, and I think that's going to be a really good positive thing for, you know, Watch Dogs Legion in here. And I think people are going to really enjoy, just players are going to enjoy playing different types of characters. The fact that you can hack anything, you can recruit anyone, it's this really interesting concept that we may very well see this actually in future games, not necessarily just in Watch Dogs. Who knows, guys? What they might be doing here is transcending potentially how other, you know, developers may make certain games like this, these kind of open world scenarios. I'm not saying all of them will, but this is an interesting concept. Watch Dogs Legion's vision of the future seems pretty bleak, given the oppressive surveillance and corruption. On a personal note, has your outlook on the future brightened or darkened since you began work on Watch Dogs Legion? He says, I'm a pessimistic person by nature. I'll be frank about that. I always have been, and it's something I, even in a bit of a twisted way, take a bit of pride in. But to be completely honest, I think despite how complex and in some ways dark many of the themes of the game are, working on the game has actually been inspiring for me, because I think that the important themes of the game aren't the dark ones, and the heavy ones and the scary ones, and the authoritarians and the opportunists and the surveillance technology and the economic strife and the politics. Those aren't the important themes. The important theme is people coming together and standing up for one another, respecting one another, and treating one another as equals to work together to make a better future. I love that. Absolutely love that, guys. I'm glad that this message is there because it seems really relevant today, and I agree. 100%, guys. Watch Dogs Legion launches on October 29th, guys, on your Xbox One, PS4, PC, and then, of course, it will be available on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, which is incredibly exciting, guys. This is a game that could very well transcend some of these open world setting games out there. And I think that this is going to be special. Regardless of how you look at it, whether we love it or we don't like the idea of being able to play all these different characters and such, I think that it's something that could be, you know, really special. And this is going to really, I believe, progress Watch Dogs as a franchise forward. I'm excited about it, guys, and I will continue to be giving you guys content on Watch Dogs Legion as we move forward here. And let me know in the comment section below, what are you guys most excited about with Watch Dogs Legion? Let me know. And for more Watch Dogs Legion content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, guys, is going to be coming out later this year, and what I will say is, from all the gameplay that I've watched out there, and from just the reveal trailer to what we know so far about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I gotta say, guys, I'm incredibly excited about this game in a number of different ways, but what I will say about it is this. I think that it's going to be, you know, some more of the same from what we got from Origins and Odyssey. If you enjoyed Origins and Odyssey, it seems like you're going to really like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But for those of you who didn't like those games, and I'm one of those people who didn't like those as much as, say, the, you know, Origins games, I gotta say that they are definitely making an aggressive approach here to kind of change that and make it so that we actually accept Valhalla and enjoy it in a number of ways. That way, like by bringing back stealth as one of those things, kind of almost merging the best of both worlds from what people really liked about Origins and Odyssey and what people loved about the original Assassin's Creed games out there. So this could be the best of both worlds in my personal opinion, and I'm very excited about it. And I want to talk about an article that was written by Yusuf Manguid of course, Ubisoft, guys. Assassin's Creed launches on November 17th, we finally got our hands on an extended demo set in the game's vast war-torn region of East Anglia. While the few hours we spent with the game represented a small slice of what's to come, we were able to raid multiple locations, solidify a new alliance from those raids, assault a fortified castle to free a captive Eldor man, and attend a Viking wedding, and even recruit a cat raider to our longship. To watch all this action play out, check out our 30-minute walkthrough. And so with that, guys, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is going to be releasing on Xbox Series X, PS5, Xbox One, PS4, PC, as well as Stadia. So when it comes to raiding, guys, our demo began as Eivor and her ally Finner ride into the town of Thietford on horseback Through their dialogue, we discover that a man named Oswald, the would-be ruler of East Anglia and ally to Eivor, has been killed by a renegade band of Vikings led by a man named Rued. Now, guys, by the way, a lot of these names, I'm terrible with names. I may be getting a lot of these names wrong, so just take that into consideration. Eivor is looking to avenge her ally by taking down Rued. The only problem is he and his clan are holed up in the fortified Burg Castle, and if Eivor and Finner are going to have any chance of reaching Rued, they'll need allies. So here we get our taste of raiding in Assassin's Creed Valhalla as we approach the river, summon our longship, and join our band of raiders. So with that, guys, okay, from a setting perspective, from the setting of what this game is all about, at least what we know so far, I like it. I like the way, I like kind of how it's like you're repairing, broken kingdoms. We're assaulting castles in all different types of areas. My only hope is that there are, elements of Assassin's Creed here, like there's elements, not so much like, like I've always talked about, what changed with Assassin's Creed was the action over the stealth. And I would like it to go back kind of either 50-50 or have stealth over action, which is what made it so special, as well as having the Assassin's Creed be a part of this game. And we saw that from the original reveal trailer, guys. Our character looks over and we see during the heat of battle, we see one of the assassins. I don't know if it was Enzio or Altair, whoever it was one of the assassins. So obviously there's ties there. I hope we're able to do that. And I hope with combat and such, we see that. But from a setting perspective, I love the setting. The graphics, guys, I mean, obviously with the demo, it looks like they're still working on things. So we'll have to wait till the full, the entire game, the full game comes out. I'm sure it's going to be, patched up and touched up. It's probably going to look really good. But from the setting and such, kind of Witcher-esque, and I got to say that I love what I'm seeing so far from a setting perspective. When we arrive at Kingsbury Center, we dispatch a few more guards using the new stun system, drain an enemy's stamina, or hit them with an arrow in one of their weak points, and you'll temporarily stun them. Approach a stun enemy and you'll be prompted to execute a stun kill, a brutal finisher that varies based on the enemy type. One particularly ruthless stun kill involved us stealing a berserker's dual axes, burying them into his ribs before headbutting him back a few feet and throwing those axes into his chest. Pretty wild. The key opens the door to a nearby building where we find a book of knowledge. In Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Eivor learns new abilities from these books, as well as by exploring the world, finding items, and speaking to people. In this case, we learn a new ability called Dive of the Valkyries, which cause Eivor to leap into the air and come crashing down on an enemy unfortunate enough to be caught within arm's reach. And then the assault. Now that we've secured Kingsbury and gained allies, it's time to prepare for our assault on Burg Castle and get our revenge on Rued. The assault begins with Eivor and allies storming the castle at night by longship. As we get closer, Eivor and crew abandon ship, but not before tossing a torch on deck, which ignites the ship's cargo of explosive barrels just as it crashes into a fortified wall, blowing a gaping hole for our troops to steam through. With enemies all around us, we have to make constant use of Eivor's combat abilities. Our recently acquired Dive of the Valkyries is useful against singular enemies, but when we found ourselves surrounded by them, a frequent occurrence during fortress assaults, throwing Axe Fury was particularly helpful. What I'll say is, guys, from another standpoint of what I thought was really cool was with Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the expansive skill tree that seems to be in this game, that you're going to be able to kind of like update and really learn different skills, but they're very expansive. There's a lot there to really learn, and so that's going to be really exciting. I think you're going to really want to go to that and learn different moves, different killing blows and things of that nature. Once our battering ram makes it through the final gate, we're treated to a cutscene to discover that despite what we led to believe, Oswald is still very much alive. This knowledge boosts the morale of both Eivor and her troops as it becomes clear that she'll have to defeat Rued to set Oswald free. We quickly scale the wall and take the fight directly to Rued in what proves to be our first boss encounter. And that's going to be interesting, guys. These boss encounters I think are going to be really interesting. Watching those as as we watched them play out within the gameplay and such in the demo, I gotta say, it looks pretty exciting. Before we can finish Ruid, Oswald approaches and pleads with us to spare Ruid's life. We decide to show mercy and take Oswald's advice, much to Ruid's dismay as he's dragged away screaming. What this choice, or any choice you make in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, will mean for the future, we don't know yet. So, this is something I'm a little bit, I don't know how I feel about. As far as having the decisions, making decisions, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, guys, because in a lot of games it's fine making decisions as you go throughout the story. But I just don't know, obviously, how this is going to work with Valhalla as a whole. Those decisions that you make, obviously, you're kind of wonder. I guess what I think of is back to the old, Assassin's Creed games. You think of like your character being in the Animus, and then you're kind of playing these stories throughout. You're in the Animus, and you're doing these stories as you're synchronizing. And with the decisions, though, is the character in the Animus making these decisions, or, you as a character? It's going to be interesting to see how they decide to do it here with Valhalla, and what those decisions, what happens, what's going to be canon, I guess you could say, at the end of the story, because I'm wondering if there's going to be multiple endings here to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That's what this leads me to believe, is that your decisions that you make will change the outcome of the ending, which I don't know how I feel about that with this, because then I kind of wonder, how is this going to tie into the rest of the Assassin's Creed games, which I want it to. I want it to kind of tie into maybe Assassin's Creed Revelations or Assassin's Creed Black Flag, or one of those older games in one way, shape, or form. We're just going to have to wait and see how they do it, guys. It could be absolutely, it could be mind-blowing the way they do it. We decided to take a break before the festivities and explore the wide-open region of East Anglia. As with Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey, pressing up on the D-pad gives you a literal bird's-eye view of your surroundings. This time, as Ivor's raven, Sinan, we noticed the town of Nordwick nearby, and immediately set out to see what sort of fun we can find. As soon as we arrive, we notice a cat with a speech bubble above its head. You better believe that if we have the option to talk to a cat, we're going to talk to a cat. And elsewhere in Northwick, we get into a Viking rap battle known as Flighting, where we must trade insults with the proper cadence and rhyme. Assassin's Creed veterans will also recognize the flying paper challenges, making their return from Assassin's Creed 3 and 4. So what I'm getting at here is, they mention Assassin's Creed 3 as well as 4, and what that is telling me is that they're definitely like being, conscious about the decisions that they're making throughout the course of this game, guys. And that's why it really leads me to believe that this game, Valhalla, is going to tie in one way, shape, or form to the other Assassin's Creed games, but like the earlier ones, I believe, is where, because it feels like they've gone kind of in this new direction with Assassin's Creed, and I'm not saying that everything that they've done is terrible with Origins and Odyssey. There's been things that have worked, but I think overall there's been a lot more that hasn't worked than that has worked, because it just doesn't feel like these other games are really tying into the overarching story of Assassin's Creed. And now that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours in the comment section down below. But out in the wilderness, a simple religious altar provides an unexpected encounter, as Ivor's offering is stolen by two children, and an ordinary house presents a unique environmental puzzle and story as we figure out a way to claim the treasure inside. So many different, there seems like there's going to be puzzles, guys. There's going to be a lot of side missions, which I'm really excited about. After the fight concludes, we leave the horrid clearing to get some fresh air. Our next stop, peacefully with our previous encounter, as we wander up to a cliff overlooking the clearing where we had just defeated Reagan. We come across a grouping of stones and are tasked with building a cairn, a stack of stones meant to reach a certain height. Calming music coupled with the serene sea view make for a relaxing, not too difficult physics-based puzzle. And then, of course, the wedding. Now that we built a cairn, broken into a house, defended a mystical warrior, recruited a cat, and gotten pickpocketed by two kids, we could use a drink. So it's time to meet back up with Oswald at his wedding. The ceremony goes off without a hitch, and then revelry truly begins. Ivor participates in in a drinking contest, drunken archery, and even has the option to romance one of the bride's brothers. As the final party game is set to kick off, an unwelcome guest arrives. Ruid has broken free and returned to get his revenge. And then at this point, we're able to make a decision as Ivor let Oswald fight Rued and risk losing the new leader of East Anglia, or fight Rued ourselves and finish the job. Had we chosen to kill Rued earlier, this moment never would have taken place. And just like that decision, this one has lasting and unknown ramifications. And that's what I'm getting at, guys, is that what's going to be canon here? You know, because I'm wondering if Valhalla is supposed to end this like trilogy of what was Origins, Odyssey, and then, you know, Valhalla now. And then moving forward, we're going to be going back to the Assassins and the Assassin's Creed as a whole. It's very hard to say, guys, what they're deciding to do here. But these decisions are going to probably lead to a lot of, you know, a lot of talk, a lot of speculation, even maybe some controversy here. It's going to be interesting. The festivities fizzle out after the battle, but our alliance with Oswald is still intact. So Ivor decides it's best to depart. On her way out, she mentions she should check back in on her friend Finner before leaving. As it turns out, Finner has been itching to live the life of a Viking raider and decides to join our crew. Assassin's Creed Valhalla allows you to recruit raiders from all over England to your longship, and each one brings their own unique fighting style and stories to share that color both the characters and the world as you sail through 9th century England. Like I said, guys, it's coming out on the Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, that being Assassin's Creed Valhalla, on Xbox One as well, PS4, PC, and Stadia on November 17th. So overall, guys, I'm really excited about this, but there are question marks here. You know, there's questions that I have, you know, regarding, okay, the decisions you're making, what's going to be canon, what's not going to be canon. You know, is this going to be one of those things that's almost like Mass Effect 3, where at the end you know, there's a lot of question marks and a lot of controversies and such. And, you know, look, I know this is just a demo, but this is just they're giving us a sneak peek of what's to come. And I feel that, you know, the decisions that you make, these aren't just like simple little decisions. These decisions lead up to what could happen in the end of the game. And so that's what's going to make this game really interesting and intriguing to myself. And I know to a lot of us. I think it would have multiple playthroughs, of course, that we could go through with this game, which I think is one thing that they want everyone to do, is probably play this game through a number of times. The one thing we haven't heard, guys, is multiplayer. We haven't heard really any multiplayer or co-op and such. I'm really hoping we get multiplayer. Like I said, I'm hoping that this ties into the other, you know, earlier Assassin's Creed games. But nonetheless, guys, I'm excited about Valhalla. This is going to be, I think, a special title in the Assassin's Creed franchise, because it's kind of taking things from the best of both worlds, so to speak. But we'll just have to wait and see. Let me know, though, guys. Are you guys excited about Assassin's Creed Valhalla? What are you looking forward to most here? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Assassin's Creed Valhalla content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. FaZe Rug is one of my favorite FaZe Clan members, guys, and once again, he has broken another milestone. I mean, this guy has become such a huge personality for FaZe as a whole. I mean, and he has really taken his YouTube channel to new heights, guys. In a tweet that's coming from FaZe Clan, 16 million subscribers, and he's still just getting started. Congratulations on another incredible milestone, FaZe Rug. So 16 million subscribers, guys. I mean, he has just continued, even though he's already, you know, been extremely successful at this point in time, he just keeps on going. And it just shows the work ethic that FaZe Rug has. I remember FaZe Rug from back in Black Ops 2, guys, when he was trick-shotting and stuff on Call of Duty. Now being this almost larger-than-life personality on YouTube is absolutely huge. It's absolutely incredible, and, you know, all the credit to FaZe Rug for just the grind, the work ethic, and, you know, just being, you know, passionate about doing YouTube in a major way, and, you know, being consistent. I mean, he has been more consistent than most of the FaZe members, guys. I mean, maybe even all of the FaZe members. He has really created something special at this point in time, and he continues to climb the milestones, guys, as we go. But 16 million subscribers, guys, I'm sure he's going to be hitting 17 million before you know it, and he'll keep on reaching new heights, guys. He's going to be approaching 20 million subscribers before you know it. Keep up the good work, man. Absolutely incredible. FaZe Rug, guys, has reached 16 million subscribers strong and still going, guys. And with that, are you a huge fan of FaZe Rug? He's an inspiration to me. What is he to you guys? What do you guys enjoy watching his content? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let's have a real conversation about it. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive. And as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.